Thank you, councillors, members of senior staff and the press. A warm welcome to you, and I declare open the October meeting of Temora Shire Council, and thank you very much for your attendance. I remind council that this meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information, and all present today we are reminded that whilst we're speaking that we're agreeing that our view and comments are being recorded and published, and we're also reminded that if or when we're speaking we're to be respectful of others and use the appropriate language, and council accepts no liability or for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. Thank you. As we begin our meeting today, Temora Shire councillors, our senior staff and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Temora Shire's land and waters, the Wiradjuri people. We pay our heartfelt respects to their elders, both past and present, acknowledging the role they have and will continue to play as members of our Temora Shire community, a special place we all proudly call home. Thank you very much. And councillors, we now have our opening prayer, which I will lead us in. So please bow our heads. Heavenly and most gracious Father, thank you very much for us being here together as councillors and staff and community for our council meeting. May you please bless us with wisdom, grace and strength and vision as we help shape the present and future of Temora Shire. And Lord, we just ask you to please bless our councillors, our staff and their families and every citizen in Temora Shire, and may they enjoy good health and much happiness. So Lord, we ask you all of this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you. Councillors, do we have apologies? I think we have one from the Director of Environmental Services. Thank you. Further apologies? Not. If someone please move that the Director's apologies approved. Councillor Reinhold, thank you. Councillor Oliver, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you very much. Any declaration of any interest, please, councillors, at this time? If not, that's fine. Let's go to the confirmation of the last minutes of Temora Shire Council, which were the September minutes. Someone that was present care to move that they be approved as a true and correct record? Thank you. This is a hot cup of tea, Councillor Bushell. Someone present care to move they be received as a true and correct record? Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Second for the motion, please. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Matters arising, Madam General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There's no matters arising.
Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go to our committee reports and our business papers on page 9. The Youth Advisory Committee report, and we didn't have a quorum for that meeting. I was a late apology. So therefore the report now is to be considered by council. So you see the report there. I don't know if Councillor Bushell, if you have any comments in relation to the report as a member of the committee.
No, I don't. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So councillors, you have the Youth Advisory Committee report, very, very active, as you can see, over the June, July, August, September period. And of course, another successful Youth Made Markets just on Saturday gone. It was another successful and I think financially a viable venture for those courageous youngsters who were part of it. So councillors, you have the Youth Advisory Committee report. Is someone prepared to move that council receive and note that report, or is there an alternate? Councillor Good, thank you very much. You've moved that way. Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Judd. Moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. Over to page 19, the minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the Chairman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll move the report be received.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor's moved the report is received. There's a second for the motion. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. The Deputy Mayor, have you got any items you wish to highlight?
No, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. Items out of the report, I go to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just item 4.1, with the referendum held on Saturday where there was a comprehensive voice or a no vote against the voice. And I think our Shire pretty much voted within the statistics of what the nation did. They voted against identity politics. I think we should take that into consideration when we do our review on this particular item in December. I just think that the people of Australia and also this Shire have pretty much aligned themselves with Jacinta Nemichi Price's comments. She just wants to move forward as one nation, one people, without division. So I'll just put that up there, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Oliver. I think your comments are certainly well made, and I'm sure the results of that referendum, amongst other matters, will be part of that overall review, as they should be. So thank you very much, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Oliver?
Just one more comment. I really like Jacinta's, the way she goes about her business. They were talking about her the other day on some TV programs and saying how she'd make an excellent Prime Minister, and I really think she would. I think she'd be one of the best we've ever had. She seems to have that way of uniting people and expressing a point of view and making it, it's a common sense point of view. So thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just say that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oliver. Councillors, any other items in the Assets and Operations Committee report? I'll go to the Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in relation to item 4.2, Community Building Partnership Grant. So as the councillors who were able to attend that meeting would recall, there was discussion about a site visit to confirm that there was sufficient space to plant trees on the site. So that site visit was conducted with a member of a schoolboys rugby league representative committee, and it was determined that there's not sufficient space to plant the trees on that site. So we're recommending that council not make the application in accordance with that recommendation.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Director. So in relation to 4.2, sorry, I'll go to Councillor Good.
I've just got a question for the Acting Director. We did discuss at that meeting the possibility of planting trees on the railway side of the fence. Was that looked into as well?
Thank you, Councillor Good. The Acting Director.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. So that discussion was raised with the managers of the site, and they have advised that it would be quite a difficult process. They consider it all to be operational land, and it would be quite a lengthy process to secure a lease for any trees to be planted on land that's owned by Transport for New South Wales, unfortunately.
Thank you very much, and at least we've explored those options. Thank you. I'll go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the meeting, we also touched on whether the soccer club ground, the Temora West Oval, would be a suitable venue to have a windbreak, and I wonder whether we could get in touch with the soccer club and see if they'd be supportive of doing a similar grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Yes, I do recall that being raised. The Acting Director, do you have any comments at this point?
So one of the provisions of the grant is that whatever funds council did seek, we must make a 50% co-contribution. So at the moment there is money for the funding of planting trees at Bob Aldridge for the coming financial year, but it may look like that council won't be able to proceed with that because of insufficient space, but it would need to be a decision of council if funds are going to be redirected to another project. But but I would need to, the grant applications close on Friday, 27th of October, if council wishes to apply.
Thank you, Madam Acting Director. So therefore, just seeking advice, Madam General Manager, that if council chose to go down the path, pardon me, that Councillor McLaren flagged, could there be a resolution or motion put here and now, and if passed, then that could be included? The General Manager.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, that definitely could be considered, but we would need that as a resolution of council to proceed to reallocate that money. The issue that we have will be the timing then associated with any consultation required to affected clubs by the 27th of October.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point, Madam General Manager. I go to Councillor McLaren.
Could I move that council officers consult with the Temora Soccer Club to get their consent or support to redirect this grant application for trees along the western side of the Temora West Oval, please?
So in relation to 4.2,
Yes.
so this is the replacement resolution. So you're moving that council engage with the Temora United Soccer Club in relation to the Community Building Partnership grant with a view of the tree, that tree line.
With their support, and
Yes.
if it can be done by the 27th, then I think we should proceed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLaren, so you're moving that way, so the General Manager. Oh, okay, thank you. The General Manager just advised me, and I think it's a good point, that it actually doesn't indicate in that current motion that we're actually, you know, and if the soccer club were happy that those funds be redirected within our existing IP&R documents. So unless you put, and further, subject to their approval, that we redirect. Councillor McLaren. Sorry, Councillor Bush. Can I just go back to Councillor McLaren? Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Yes, and if the approval is received, that we redirect those funds
Yeah.
to apply the grant to that project.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Madam General Manager. So have I got a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Moved and seconded. I go now to Councillor Bush.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question to the town planner, who has applied for so many grants. Does our IP&R document reflect within that grant application? And because it's not going to be indicated in that grant, well, that can then go against us.
Thanks, Councillor Bushell. I go to the Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I can supplement my report with a letter signed by the Director of Administration and Finance to confirm that council, if successful, would be willing to match the contribution, so that would be sufficient. And also that council can consider planting these trees in the road reserve, so they would be actually on the the council land rather than actually on the soccer field itself.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillors, is there any further discussion? That is in relation to 4.2, Community Building Partnerships. Councillor McLaren and Councillor Irvine have moved that council engage with the Temora United Soccer Club in relation to the Community Building Partnership grant to seek their support for the planting of trees. And further, if it is supported, that the budget allocation be transferred, or if it is supported, reallocate the Bob Aldridge project to the Temora United Soccer Club. Or Temora West Sports Ground, I beg your pardon, yes. So Councillor McLaren's happy with that, and Councillor Irvine, you're happy with that. So further discussion, I go to Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, just looking at a map of that site, it looks like 60% of it would probably be council road reserve, and maybe 40% of it would be on the Temora West Oval in terms of availability for space. Because there's my information or my knowledge of the site would mean that they haven't got room between the edge of the playing surface and the fence. So on the main ground, but further down there's a small section on the south western corner where they have got a bit extra room. So I think it's a bit of a patchy planning there. I think it'd be a good opportunity to actually infill that and make it it'd look pretty good.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Further discussion, that will actually wind it up after Councillor McLaren, wind up after you.
Just my reflection of any time I've been there in winter, the wind just comes over that little rise, and a break of trees would make it a much more pleasant oval.
I think we'd agree, and I think the cricketers and all users would agree with that. Thank you very much, Councillor McLaren. So you have a motion, councillors, you're aware of it, that's been put by Councillor McLaren and Councillor Irvine. I'm going to now put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. And declare the motion carried. And thank the Acting Director. Councillors, a motion please to approve the report, the remainder of the report and recommendations from Assets and Operations Committee. Thank you, Councillor Good. Has moved that way. Seconded, Councillor Judd. Thank you. Moved, seconded. Further discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 112, the Economic Development Visitations Committee report, and Councillor McLaren is the chairman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the report be received.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren has moved that the report is received. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Good. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor McLaren, you had any comments at this stage?
Just that there were no items on the open agenda, so there's nothing to move, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Well, councillors, there is the report there, and is someone prepared to move the report and recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Good. Moved and seconded. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 115, the delegates' reports. Do we have any delegates' reports, please? Go to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Judd and myself attended the Temora Art Prize a couple of weeks ago. Once again, very well run. Our art centre manager, I'm not sure his proper title, but did an excellent job in putting together. And once again, there's some very talented people in our Shire and surrounding shires too. They come from quite a large, wide area actually, but no, it's well worthwhile if you haven't been out to have a look. If you get out there, I think it's still running for a while. So yeah, we're very lucky to have the people in our Shire that we have got.
Thanks very much, Mr Deputy Mayor and Councillor Judd, for attending. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but we sponsor an award as a business, but the council also sponsor among many other businesses, which is great to see. So again, well done to all involved. Any other delegates' reports, please? I go to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Some months ago I reported that the Temora Ambulance Museum was going to obtain a very rare Jeep ambulance from the Victorian Ambulance organisation, and I see in the local news last night that it turned up yesterday, so it's probably going to take pride of place in their display out there, so it's good to see that very rare unit here in Temora. So
Exactly.
thank you, Mr Mayor.
Pardon me. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. That's great. I do recall talking with the Bundaberg Centre manager, Mr Spears, and he was having kittens just talking about it, and well, that's great to hear that it's arrived. I understand that we'll be asked to go out and inspect it, so we'll keep you posted. Thank you. Further delegates' reports, Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just today and yesterday I attended the No Time to Waste conference for ReRock at Wagga. There was lots of fruitful information, and I'll intend to write an email to our Director of Environmental Services of the newfound information that was offered to us over the past 2 days. Very interesting things going on at Kurrajong, which is very exciting. They're proposing to recycle, I'll get the word wrong, but solar panels. I was going to say photovoltaic things, and that was very exciting. They got a demonstration tomorrow, which I'm sadly going to miss, but yeah, it was a very exciting discussion. But there's other things that were itemised, which I'll send to the Director of Environmental Services to flag with you all. So, thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Councillor Bushell, for representing Temora Shire. We're a bit worried. I was not able to attend the conference, and I actually got Councillor Francis Day from Lockhart Shire to open it. If I had have known that you were going, I would have asked you. But it's just great because we weren't actually going to have a council representative there. But yeah, thank you very much for making the time. All right. So thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's good to see that these solar panels are going to be somehow recycled. It's I think they're going to be quite busy in 20 or 30 years' time. So it's good to see that they're going to make some use out of it. So
Exactly. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. That's right, and I'm sure that Kurrajong will receive that support because it's something that we think's been really missing in terms of recycling these solar panels. So thank you. Further delegates' reports. I go to Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just report on, we had a good day at Erie Park yesterday. First of all, we had an open day for the Erie Park Men's Shed, able to secure a little bit of the flow money for isolated seniors to try and encourage people to get more involved. That was went down well as well. And then we had by a 6-monthly community engagement meeting. And normally we'd have it in the CWA rooms or the supper room, but being a nice day, we organised it on the footpath underneath the verandas. And our Director of Engineering, Manager of Engineering Works and Tyler Madden were there, and we were surprised, I think they were surprised about the number of heavy trucks and that coming through the main street. And anyway, one of the main things that came up at the meeting was about we need a speed limit in 30, 40 k's in Erie Park, and we've just tried to do that in Temora. And anyway, the meeting, it was very timely having the meeting in the main street to see what's really going on. So, it was a good meeting. A number of other concerns were handled, and the staff did a really good job. And the third part of the day was our new general manager came out, and we had a coffee morning where she met a number of the residents of Erie Park and got a very warm reception. We'll let her off this time, so
Look out next time.
so overall it was a good day. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Councillor Judd, and thank you for you and the fellow citizens at Area Park for the warm reception you gave our General Manager. She advised me that, she had a very, very enjoyable time and was well looked after, well fed and watered, and so thank you very much. I go to Councillor Oliver.
just another comment in regard to the good people at Area Park. Some of the best cooks in our Shire reside at Area Park, and I can attest to that. Having played tennis there as a young fellow and played football out there years ago, they are good cooks, I can tell you that. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Judd.
It was always a competition between Erie Park, Mandamar and Betrick who had the best cooks.
Thank you. Councillor, just a couple of things. Of course, the General Manager and I went to Re-Rock board meeting at Parliament House in Sydney, as you know, last Thursday, and we were present for the member for Northern Tablelands, Adam Marshall, for the Red Fleet Amendment Bill, the Royal Fire Service, and it was very interesting what transpired. The Minister for Local Government, Mr Honig, spoke on and off for about an hour and a half in relation to it, as did other MPs and ministers. But one thing that impressed us, councillors and members of staff, is that Minister Honig and the Emergency Services Minister Mr Dibb, warmly praised Mr Marshall for the manner in which he went about his business in terms of negotiating with the government and the crossbenchers, and they both said that on the floor of the House, and we thought that was very, very positive. And likewise, when we understand that the minister's put forward a proposal to go to a public inquiry. So we see that as a positive instead of just outright voting it down. We are quietly confident that the state government have heard rural and regional councils across New South Wales, and there is a genuine desire to want to fix this particular issue. Now, we won't muddy the waters by talking about ESL because that is a different issue, but at the moment there seems to be a genuine desire, and credit to the government, but also I think credit to Mr Marshall for at least going about his business in the right way. So that's just to update council in that space. Does the General Manager have anything to add? No. Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
I just think it's marvellous that it's finally on the agenda in a public motion and not just the subject of backroom discussions of how they're not going to pay any attention to local councils. And I also commend the Director of Finance from all these councils who've stood their ground and said we're not going to change our accounts, this is not the right thing, and it's wonderful that we're getting a bit of traction. It's great.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren, and I think we all endorse those words, and I'm proud of this council, previous councils for standing firm, and every other one of the 40-something that are continuing to do so. But again, you have to give, and this council always has done, give credit where it's due. At this stage, and I know that that we haven't had any legislation passed, but at least with a public inquiry, that is a major step forward compared to what we've had before. So thank you for that. Just the last one that I had, councillors. Yesterday we had the inaugural Mayor's Public Speaking Challenge, and Councillor Oliver was in attendance, and the General Manager also was able to attend, and just how warmly it was received by the schools, Area Park, Central, St Anne's and Temora Public. It was a primary school competition, and Temora West unfortunately weren't able to participate, but it was just fantastic to see how well it was received. Ella McCrane won year 3, Anna Chalmers won the year 5, Brady Gray from St Anne's won year 6, and Brady Gray's sister, young Annabelle Gray, I got there, she won the year 4 prize. So it was very warmly received, and the manner in which every one of them, the courage that they had, without microphones, without anything, talking to a room, it was about 30, 40 people. We were so very proud of each and every one of them. So we'll look at perhaps enhancing that next year. So thank you very much. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, no, it was a really enjoyable hour and a half or so, and some of those kids expressed wisdom far beyond their years, I thought, and the confidence they have to get up and stand in front of people. Geez, they outdo me every time. But, no, it was a really good show. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the most heartwarming subject, personally, was year 6 got to talk about what is community, and each of the 3 schools, they shared what was on their hearts, and yeah, it was very, very, very special. That's for sure. No further delegates' reports. If not, let's proceed. Is it warm in here? It's warm in here. Would Councillor Good care to turn the cooler on, please? Yeah, well, my God. It's fine quality wool one. Thank you, councillors. Let's go over to 116, the Mayor's report for the month of September, and there's a recommendation on page 119 that the Mayor's report is noted. Thank you, Councillor Good. Has moved that way. Seconded for the motion. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Moved, seconded, discussion. There's no further discussion. I put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Let's go to page 120, staff reports. Motion to receive staff reports, please. Councillor Bushell, thank you. Councillor Good, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 121, the General Manager's report, 12.1, calendar of events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You'll see that the calendar of events is quite busy for October, November and December, as it usually is this time of year. I just wanted to bring to Council's attention that next week we have the walk and talk tour planned for Temora, and just request that councillors advise of whether or not they can attend this particular event by close of business this week, so we can make the necessary preparations for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillors, you have the report there in front of you. Is someone prepared to move the recommendation that they be noted? Thank you, Councillor Good. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved, seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 122, 12.2, seals. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just put that forward to Council for their consideration.
Thank you. Councillors, you see there are two seals that is recommended to be affixed. I go to Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I just ask the Finance Manager, the amendments to the loan agreement, can you explain that, please?
Thank you. Councillor Oliver, go to the Administration Finance Director.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. So T Corp have amended all three of our existing loans. They've actually reduced or removed the restrictions on the types of investments that we can have, and they've put it all back onto council. So it's all about now compliance with our investment policy and also the ministerial investment order, which is good for us. Although you will recall that when we reviewed our investment policy around about 12 months ago, we actually incorporated the T Corp loans included restrictions on what we could invest in, so we have incorporated that into our policy. So we're still bound by that until we review the policy.
Thank you, Madam Director. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. With those words, there is a recommendation the General Manager has for Council to consider that Council endorse the seal being affixed to the above documents, or is there an alternate? Councillor McLaren, moving that way. Thank you. Seconded for the motion, Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved, seconded. Discussion. There's no discussion. I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 123, 12.3, the operational plan quarter one review, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You'll see that in the operational plan quarter one review, we've had quite a busy quarter as an organisation and a lot has been achieved. We're still progressing well in relation to the overall actions that we have identified for this financial year. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks very much, Madam General Manager, and we commend you and the Director of Admin and Finance for the work that you put into this document, so thank you. Councillors, any comments? Questions in relation to the quarter one review of our operational plan? Go to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. On page 171, under the late centenary fence or play equipment, fence around the play equipment, the comment is there that, and I Council did discuss this, about not sure whether the Council is supporting the funding or the actual putting the fencing around that. The Lake Committee is still quite keen to see that fencing go up, and have allocated a reasonable sum of money offhand. I think it was something like $12,000 towards that. So, I don't know that whether you should sort of perhaps have discussions with them, and I mean, I can see their point, you know, that people go out there and while there's a lake there, it's unfenced, at least it's an area where they can put their young children in and they can play without having to keep a real close eye on them. One mother with twins that usually one goes one direction, another one goes another direction, so it's quite easy to, a lot easier to keep control of for a little while. So I think it's something we should look at as with the Lake Committee putting in quite a substantial amount of money. I think it's probably a bit of a cheap shout for council to put the fence up.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, and it is a point well made, particularly safety for youngsters with a body of water nearby, but also that they're prepared to cough up a reasonably significant contribution for council to consider. We'll go to the Engineering Assets Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Is your microphone on? No.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so that comment was mine. I just need to check, like the 12.5, I think it's 12,500 they've allocated, but that definitely won't cover the cost, and I'm not sure. I need to check whether it's in our budget for this year or next year, I can't recall. But there is a project there for us to replace the sand within that park with a certified softfall sand. And yeah, we definitely won't put the fence up until that time. And yeah, I wasn't sure whether it was supported by council or not. I remember last time we discussed this, there was definitely mixed views, but so that's where it's at.
Thank you, Mr Manager. Councillors, the General Manager suggested that if council were of a mind to want to do that, that perhaps if there was a motion put to have a report done in terms of costings, etc., and to be considered at a future Assets and Operations Committee meeting. So the Deputy Mayor, oh, sorry. Thanks, Councillor Irvine. The Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, yes, I'd quite happy to move that way, that there'd be a report done on costings to put the fence up and so forth.
Lake Centenary with the play equipment. Thank you. Is it seconded, Councillor Irvine? Would you like to second that, or?
I can second that.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Irvine, second the motion. Discussion, Councillor Irvine.
Is there any consideration being given to upgrading the play equipment out there? I think some of it's fairly dated. I don't know what the situation is currently out there.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. The Engineering Assets Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Not in the near term. Like you're right. So there's the original, toddlers play equipment that's getting old, but it's still absolutely functional and there's nothing broken on it. There's probably just some higher, it's on that sort of secondary list, I would say. Like it's, the highest priority at this point is Federal Park, which it's currently funded. Outside of that, there's probably quite a few that are at a similar age to the lake that are all sort of, will fall due at a similar time. But it's not in the Forward Works program at this point, and if it is, it's out of fair way.
Thank you. So did you have supplementary?
Thanks for that. It was just
Councillor Irvine.
it would have seemed a little bit inefficient to go and spend money on a brand new fence and fence in a heap of gear that we turn up 12 months later to rip out. So if that's the case and it's still got plenty of life, then it makes sense, and I'm quite happy to second that.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Irvine. I go now to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I support the motion. Having taken my grandchildren out there from time to time just to get them out of the house on nice sunny days, when they're 2 and 3 year old, they just up and go, and you've got a hell of a job, especially someone like me who's got a bit long in the tooth to catch them. So I support the motion. As regard to the age of it, I don't know if the children seem to care too much what age it is. They just want to get on and have fun. But maybe a lick of paint might tidy it up and make it look a bit fresher. I don't know. But anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I'm sure all grandparents and parents would love to see something happen in that space. But at least the Lake Centenary Management Committee are putting some money on the table for council to consider. So, councillors, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Irvine have a motion here for you to consider that the operational plan Q1 review 2023-2024 be noted, and further that council officers prepare a report on costings associated with fencing the play equipment at Lake Centenary. It's move and second are happy. Thank you. A further discussion, Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just want to include, though, if we do put fencing up, that we have some signage to say that supervision of children is paramount before fences. So just want to make sure that we know that we don't put any liability on ourselves.
Now, good point, Councillor Bushell. I see the General Manager noting that comment, and that will no doubt form part of the report, so thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very, very much. And again, thank the General Manager and the Director of Administration and Finance. Now, let's go to page 194, 12.4, alcohol-free zones. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is an extension of the existing and current alcohol-free zones that we have. So this is not proposing any new ones. There is a process that we need to go through in terms of consultation for this, and we're putting that recommendation forward so we can progress that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks very much, Madam General Manager. Go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just got a question to the General Manager. How does these alcohol-free zones relate to the hotels? As in, are the hotels able to have tables out the front where people can eat and drink?
Thank you, Councillor Good. While the General Manager is pondering on that question, I'll go to Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We've pondered this ourselves with the outdoor dining policy. How many times did we have it up? 3 times, I think. So it's in that. There's a clause in there to say that you have to have food whilst drinking on the out on the tables.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Good.
My concern is that this is an alcohol-free zone and it would override any policies that we've got.
Thank you, Councillor Good. I'll go now to the Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Yes, I do confirm that when there is applications for outdoor dining associated with a liquor licence, that there is a process where it's designated that a particular section of the footpath becomes exempt from the alcohol-free zone, and it just means that alcohol can be consumed while seated only in that section, and the alcohol-free zone applies elsewhere where it's designated by council. So there is certainly a process where that is acknowledged.
Thank you, Madam Acting Director. And I do understand, before I go to the General Manager, I do understand that the police, believe that this is a very, very, very useful tool. And further, Council are just reminded that the Temora Liquor Accord is continuing to work and working very well, as I understand it. Our own Director of Environmental Services is the Chairman in his capacity as a licensee, and our Director of Administration and Finance sits on that committee on behalf of Temora Shire Council. So that is that. I'll go to the General Manager. Do you have any comment?
No, nothing further, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Bushell's moving the recommendation that is listed there on page 194. Is there a second for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved, seconded. Discussion. So this will, of course, come back, and it's usually for, if we do it, what is it, 3 year? Is it 3 years, the period? 3 or 4? Yeah. Oh, 5, is it? Anyway, it's for several.
Yeah, we won't bring it back after exhibition if there's no problem.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yes, so if there isn't any issues, then that will be taken as that we continue in relation to the alcohol-free zones. But if we do have submissions, then it will come back for Council to consider. So I'll move the motion put by Councillor Bushell and Councillor Reinhold, and that is to move the recommendation. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very, very much. Is there anything of an urgent, late nature from the General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no, there isn't. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Councillors, let's go over to page 195, the Engineering Services Department report. So we have nil. So thank you. Let's go to the... You are very organised. Let's go to page 196, the Environmental Services Department report, 14.1, the Area Park Springdale Floodplain Risk Management Study. The Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the Area Park and Springdale Floodplain Risk Management Study and Plan has now reached the stage where it is in final draft form. So it has been provided under separate cover to councillors because of the large size of the document. But there's a recommendation there regarding public exhibition of the document prior to it being finalised by council for council's consideration.
Thank you, Madam Acting Director. I now go to Councillor McLaren.
Just curious about where it would go on public exhibition for those localities, or whether it would be central in Temora.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. The Acting Director.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. So we would have a display here in Temora, but we could also make arrangements for it to be displayed in the villages for more accessible for those people that live in the villages.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and particularly if you contact the Springdale Advisory Committee and perhaps Councillor Judd and his advisory committee in relation to ideal locations, whether it's post office at Area Park or something similar. Thank you very much. Did you?
No, sorry. Looking at sprinklers.
Bloody sprinklers. We'll go to Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to move the recommendation.
Thank you. So Councillor Bushell is moving the recommendation that
Councillor
Council...
McLaren's comments in mind.
Thank you, yes. Place the draft Area Park Springdale Floodplain Risk Management Study and plan on public exhibition for a period of 30 days, receive a future report on the outcome and exhibition, and of course noting Councillor McLaren's comments as well in terms of other locations besides council chambers. I didn't get a seconder, did I? No. Seconded, thank you, Councillor Good. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Councillor Irvine.
In the summary at the bottom of that report, there's some recommendations. Will those recommendations, after it goes on public display, come back to council for consideration?
Yes, my understanding is that it's coming back to council after it goes on public exhibition. Yeah. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Is there anything of an urgent late nature from the Acting Director?
No, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's now go to page 198, Administration Finance Department report. So we don't have anything in the Admin and Finance Department report because they too are on top of their portfolio.
No, Mr Mayor, wait till next month.
Oh, yes, that's right, I remember. Ooh. Anyway, no, thank you very much. And we know, again, you've put a lot of work into, of course, the operational plan as well, so thank you. Let's go to page 199. We have correspondence, and I go to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to this matter from the Christmas street fair that's proposed, we have now been advised that TBEG would like the Christmas fair to be held on the 8th of December. This is to stop a conflict with another event that was also planned on the 1st of December. And so what we would be recommending to council is that it's recommended that council note the report and approve the change of date to the 8th of December 2023 for the TBEG Christmas Street Fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillor Good.
I'll move that way, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So Councillor Good is moving that council note the report and the approved change of date to Friday the 8th of December for the TBEG Christmas Street Fair. Second to Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Further discussion. Further discussion. I know Councillor Judd and I are declaring non-pecuniary interests as members and patrons of TBEG, and Councillor Reinhold as a member of the executive. Oh, you're a council delegate. That's right, exactly. Thank you. Moved and seconded with those declarations noted. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. That will be a great event of bringing community together, that's for sure. Let's go to page 216.2, Temora Public School Presentation Day, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I might just refer this to the Director of Administration and Finance because we have had some queries in relation to the management of the school presentation donations. So I might just hand that to her before you have further discussion.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. We'll go to the Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as the General Manager indicated, the Executive Assistant and I and the Mayor also recalled a conversation that we had that we would include these as an IPNR action. The sponsorships to the school, we sponsor the schools every year for their presentation days, and that appears to have been overlooked. But I suggest that in this instance we approve this one and then also at the same time endorse the sponsorship of the 3 remaining schools in the Shire, so that we don't need to put those requests through as they come in. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Director. Do you mean that because we allocate 200 to each of the 5 schools?
Yes, sorry, 5 schools.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you very much. Trying to get out of saving some money, that's the true account. So, councillors, you've heard from the Director. Councillor Good.
I'll move that way, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Good is moving that way, that Council approves the request we've received at Temora Public School, and further that the approval for the other 4 schools in Temora Shire form a part of IPNR, is it? Approval is granted for the other schools in the Temora to a value of 200. What about future though? You know, so say that coming back here, we're going to capture that. Yeah. So
I've made a note to include an IPNR action
excellent.
for next year.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, mover and second. Haven't got a seconder. Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Moved and seconded. Are you happy with what you see on your screen, please? And also noting that future, it'll be captured in our IPNR documents going forward. Discussion, Councillor Judd.
Probably should add the word each, I think yeah.
Oh, yeah, to a value of $200 each. Yes, good point. She's trying. Nice try. No, good point, Councillor Judd. So now the mover and seconder are happy. Yes. Yep. Councillor McLaren.
Yes, that's right. And the donation spent so far this year is $4,985. So we've got touch over $10,000 left. Yeah.
But when it's, thank you, Madam Director. So, but when going forward it's captured in IPNR, it won't come out of donations budget, will it? Be a separate line item? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So that'll free up some money for the rest of the community too. So I'll put the motion to you that's been moved by Councillor Good and Councillor McLaren. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. And this is fantastic initiative, councillors, that that Council introduced some 20 years ago, and I know that the schools across Temora Shire appreciate it very, very much. So thank you very much. Let's go to... is there any further late items of correspondence from the General Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. No, there isn't.
Thank you. Councillors, let's go over to page 202, business with notice we haven't received. We go to page 203, 18.1, a notice of motion push bikes, and I go to Councillor Irvine. We've had discussions, Councillor Irvine, of course, just about the actual motion, just to tidy it up, which we've got your concurrence. So can we just go through that again with you, Councillor Irvine, on the screen? So the motion that we had discussed with Councillor Irvine was that council officers engage Hoskin Street Cafe and coffee business owners to ascertain if they have identified a need for bike racks for patrons, and further, council officers to provide a future report to council which considers the outdoor dining street policy as a mechanism to minimise and manage any risks. So, Councillor Irvine, are you still happy with how that plays out?
Yeah, that's.
Thank you. So you'll move that motion?
I'll move that motion.
Thank you. So Councillor Irvine has moved that notice of motion formally. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Oliver, thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. I go to Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, so following on from an assets and ops matter where council considered the installation and funding on council's own BAT bike racks, I considered it and I thought that matter had to go to budget, and it was going to be a fair period of time if it was to go ahead, that there may be provision of bike racks in Hoskin Street. So in the interim, I think it'd be sensible for council just to ascertain if there's any need within the business houses, and if there's any appetite for the business houses to provide their own infrastructure, and then if there is, then whether that infrastructure could be incorporated into the outdoor dining policy, which covers tables and chairs and umbrellas and cafe barriers and those type of pieces of equipment. So I think it'd give any Hoskin Street business that wants to fund their own infrastructure the ability to bring it into play earlier, and also they could provide it at locations that council perhaps hadn't considered. So that's the basis of the notice of motion and the, I suppose, the reasoning behind it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Irvine. And what I will say is I thank you for considering our staff and their time. They are under the pump, arguably like never before. But you have considered that by suggesting in your motion a future report, and council acknowledges that. Thank you. Councillor, I thought Councillor Oliver, did you have anything to say as a seconder?
Yeah, I support the investigation into this. I think it's, it might uncover some stuff that council's overlooked. And I think it's, it's one less thing that council has to pick up the tab for if these businesses are willing to buy their own infrastructure and take it in and take it out. And also, if one of these businesses happens to close down or relocate or something, as has happened in the past, well, if we're stuck with something permanent, well, it's it leaves a bit of an ugly stain or an ugly mark on the footpath when you take up the diner bolts and whatever else. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. And of course, if this motion is successful, it's certainly not committing council to anything, but there's a report that will be furnished for us to consider what we do, if anything, in that space. So moved and seconded. Further discussion, Councillor Reinhold.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. As an ex-owner of a cafe, I would have been more than happy to have purchased a rack like that for my customers. Easy to put out, fairly simple to use. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Pardon me. Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. And thank you very much for that. Councillors, over to page 208, business without notice of an urgent nature. I'm assuming that there's none. Thank you. Councillors, a motion please to receive the information paper. Councillor Good, thank you. The Deputy Mayor seconds it. Councillor Sinclair moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, any items? Just noting there that the Ranger, to his credit, and we do congratulate and thank our Ranger, and if the General Manager passed that on, in relation to the patrolling of parking Main Street, I think certainly has been effective, and the warning system seems to be working quite well. So well done in that space. Any other items, councillors? Go to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on page 210, there's a upgrade of Wattle Street, and I spoke to the what's your title? Engineering Works Manager before. Great initiative to put the spoil on the batters on the Morangel Road. Once that grass is grassed up, we'll be able to mow right up to the edge of the road, and it'll look so much nicer when you're coming into town. So good on you, Alex.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver.
Thank you.
I think that it's important, councillors, on page 221 to point out that our ratepayers in Temora Shire are outstanding, and let's have a look at how we're going there compared to last year in terms of rates outstanding. So we're tracking a lot better this year, and even though the cost of living pressures are real, people are still meeting their commitments, and that's fantastic. And to me, that amplifies how grateful they feel towards Temora Shire Council. So I think we take our hats off to our ratepayers. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You must have read my mind, because I was going to say the same comment, but I wanted to ask the Director of Administration and Finance as to whether the direct debit process is, what percentage people do direct debit. That'd be interesting to know, because I think that's how people do keep on top of things these days.
Good point. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. We'll go to the Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the numbers off the top of my head, but we do have quite a few direct debits in place, and it's really interesting. People get themselves into a bit of trouble, and once we get them onto a direct debit, more often than not, they'll end up actually in credit. So it really does help just to chip it away at it. But yeah, our staff do work pretty hard at, on debt recovery. We sort of try to keep on top of it before things get out of control. So.
Thank you very much, Madam Director, and Council thanks you and your team for pursuing where you need to. Any other comments, Councillors? Information paper? If not, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, I advise that there are several matters to be considered that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion from Council to have those matters considered. Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. And I now defer to the General Manager, who will take us through the confidential resolutions.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to the minutes of the Economic Development and Visitations Committee held on the 10th of October 2023, it was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted. In relation to the report on the update on emulsion bitumen, it was resolved that Council note the report. In relation to the report regarding Aboriginal land claim, it was resolved that Council note the report. It was resolved that the Council moves a motion from closed to open by Councillor Good and seconded by Councillor Bushell, and it was resolved that Council moves out of closed council and into open council at 5:17 p.m. by Councillor Sinclair and seconded by Councillor Judd. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam General Manager. As the councillors, you've heard those resolutions that have been brought forward from closed session into open. Could I please have a formal resolution that we accept those resolutions? Thank you, Councillor Good. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Pardon me. I thank you very much, councillors and members of senior staff. I don't know whether we've hit record-breaking territory at present, but I do thank you very much for your input, and I just also want to say a warm thank you for everyone's hard work. I know, councillors, you have your own businesses, your own lives, your own jobs, and your other commitments. But I want to thank you all very much for your commitment to this organisation and to our Shire community. Also, General Manager, the directors, our managers, and all staff. Thank you for really working hard for us. It means a lot to us. So please know it's appreciated more than I think you realise. With those words, I thank you and I declare the meeting closed.